All right. Welcome to week 7. And we get to talk case statements. Yeah, I enjoy case statements. Case statements are fun. They really get into the nitty-gritty of really getting the data to say what you want it to say, even though it doesn't say what you think it should say. So before we begin, as is tradition, Case, any questions from last week's assignment? You doing good? All right, cool. All right. So I've got 15 code examples here of using case logic and other things that we're talking about here. Um, I don't think there's any tangents I'm going to go off on today, but you never know with me. I might think of something. So let's begin, shall we? The first command we're looking at is if null. If null is a function that allows you to reassign a value um, if the value in there is null. This is what does what it says it does. So here I'm selecting address and then address 2. I'm saying if it's null, give me 3 dotted lines as secondary address. And I'm going to limit that to 10. So when I run this, it fails because I forgot to use Tequila. Trying this again. And there we go. Now you'll notice that some of these have nothing in them and some of these have that. It's because there is, I think I said before, there is a difference between null and empty space. Because if I went into here and put like 2 spaces in there, those are considered characters. You don't see them, but they're characters. So null means there's nothing in there and there never was anything in there. Coalesce does the same thing. It's saying if there is null here, give me that value instead. Now we can get fancy here. I can do a coalesce function, right, on a date diff. So date diff is give me the difference between 2 dates. And I think it was a week before we did this, and there was a null in the return date, and that broke it because there can't be a null because it's a mathematical function. Here, I can coalesce return date and say set it to now if there's a null in there, and then I get my results here. So here, 2, 4, blah blah blah. But if I go here, oh, where is it? Anything I knew more than 1,000. Here. There we are. I get 7,845, 485. That's because the rental dates in here are like in from 2005. It's 2020, so it's 20 years ago. So here it's using the date now because I'm saying if you use return and find a null, coalesce into using today's date. So there are protections because as we saw, if you have a null in your query, it breaks what it's trying to do. You'll get errors because you can't do uh, uh, a function, a math function with a null in it. So this just protects you from there. Okay. So what a case statement is, a case statement is exactly, to me, it's not exactly what it sounds like. What a case statement is, you're choosing a column and you're giving parameters to return something different than what's really there. So here, I'm selecting my title and rating from film, right? But I'm saying case on the rating column. If it return when it turns G, return family friendly. If it returns PG, do parental guidance. If it returns R, return adults only, else put unrated. So when I run this, I get this more user different kind of column. So what I can do here is I can get rid of rating in this column, and then instead of returning the rating, I can just say with parental guidance suggested, it's family friendly or it's unrated. So and there's a ton of so if you think about this, there's a lot of reasons why you would do this. For example, One of the reasons is if you were in a rental, if you were a rental, a video rental place, as if they still existed, and you didn't want people to be able to rent movies if they were too young. Like if a 15-year-old came and wanted to rent an R-rated movie, you could do a case statement so you're not getting the kid's birthday. You can come in and say, case when age is less than 18, return can't rent. So there's a bunch of things. So we're going to look at a bunch of different things we can do with this case, and we're going to get fancier and more show-offy as we go along. Here, we got first name, last name, and then we're going to do case on store ID from staff. And when it returns 1, it's main campus. When it returns 2, it's satellite office. So we're not saying where the person works. We just know if it's the main campus or the satellite office. We're not getting to like the address and things like that. Here, this doesn't have a column here because I put the column in a when statement, right? So here I've got title length case. When length is less than 60, return short under 1 hour. When length is between 60 and 120, return standard. And when length is greater than 120, return epic over 2 hours as duration tier. So in this case, the column isn't by the case statement, say what column we're using. It's within the body of the case statement because I've got an inequality I'm looking at here. Okay. Do a little different. Title length and rental rate. And I've got a case statement here. I've got when length is greater than 120 and rental rate is less than $1. Call it a hidden gem. When length is greater than 120 and rental rate is over $4, call it a premium blockbuster. Everything else, and so what this else statement is, anything that doesn't meet these criteria is going to return as this. And we're going to call that value status, and we're going to run that. Got our hidden gems and our blockbuster. Okay, because this is 150 minutes and $5, 136 minutes and 99 cents. Okay. Doing okay? Keep it up. All right. Let's look at this one. Rental rate, rental date, case. When the day of the week of the rental date is 1 or 7, then weekend warrior, else weekday regular. So what this is doing, days of the week, rental rate, if it's 1 or 7, which means if it's Saturday or Sunday, it's going to return weekend warrior, which means it was rented on the weekend. Or anything else, just weekday regular as rental type. So we're trying to see when people rented the videos. So we're not getting any. Take out that there. Take out the limit. Do the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah. Here's our weekend warriors and our weekday regulars. So there's a lot that you can do with case statements. You can really granularize the data you're showing in language that isn't in the database to mask what's really there. This one, I can put my case statement in my order by statement. So here, I'm selecting title and rating from film, and I'm ordering it by case, rating. When it's NC-17, then return 1, else return 0. And then we're going to call this title, order by title. But what we're doing here is a little tricky, but it's giving anything that's not NC-17 a value of 0. And anything that is NC-17 a value of 1. And since we're ordering by that, all the NC-17 movies will be at the bottom, regardless. So you see here, everything's ordered by alphabet until we get down here, and then the NC-17s are separated out. So we can put our case statements in our select statements or in our order by clauses. Here's something else we can do. We've got an aggregate here. We're going to select. We got a case statement here. When the length is less than 60, call it short. When the length is between 60 and 120, call it standard. Everything else, call an epic. I'm going to call that tier. So that column's called tier. Then I'm going to do a count from film and group it by tier. So it's going to take these three items and then give me a count of each one in that category. I'm creating new categories. Now, are you familiar with a pivot table, Kason?
I've heard the term, but I need a refresher because I can't remember it off the top of my
So,
head.
okay, so a pivot table is, let me do this. Um, so select rating, comma, count from film, SLECT, group by rating. So when I run this, I get that. Okay. So my first row is rating, my second row is count, and that's what it is. What if I wanted it to where um it looked like that? So a pivot table is when you take this that's returning as two rows with two columns with with five rows. What if I wanted these to be the columns and this to be under it? I want to pivot that. And I can do this. Let me add what else am I missing here? GPG. So let's do copy. PG 13. Okay. So I'll run this again. So I can't really do these side by side, but I can run them here. I can still do this way. So this table looks like this. Does that make sense? What a pivot table is? So in Excel and in most of your spreadsheet programs, there's a way to do pivot tables. It's just you pivot it out and it does that for you. But here in the query engine, you can actually make that happen by using these case statements. So what's happening here is the first one, it's selecting, I'm doing sum. Give me the sum of the case statement. When rating equals G, it equals one, else it equals zero. So this just gives me the count of how many movies have the rating G. This gives me the count of how many movies have the rating PG. 13, PG-13, RNNC 17. And it returns the one value and it calls that column rated G, rated PG, rated PG-13. Okay. As opposed to here, I'm just selecting the rows. This is what we're used to seeing. That's that. But when we do it this way, we have 5 individual case statements, each returning how many rows are in this rating, and then returning it as a column name. Okay. Here's another one. So here, let's look at this value. Let's look at this one here. It shows which ratings make the most money. So here, case when F rating equals G, then payment amount in payment, amount in payment. Same thing here, right? And it's saying if it's not that, then it's 0. So it's going to go through this join statement here, these joins, and every time rating equals G, it's going to pull in the amount, and everything else will return 0. Every time it's going to pull in the rating R, and everything else is going to return 0. So it's going to give me this. Still with me? It's just you and me that, so we're probably going to end really early, so you can get to sleep. All right, because we only got 2 more of these. All right. Last one here. We're doing a case within a case. So we're selecting title, then case. When rating equals G, then case. When length is less than 100, greater than 120, then value family choice, or otherwise everything's standard family. So here, I'll show you what this looks like when you run it. So this is a nested case statement. So my first case statement is saying, hey, when it's G, then go here. If the length is greater than 120, call it a value family choice. If not, called standard family. Everything else called general catalog. So here, this is a movie that's rated G that's over 120 minutes. This is a movie rated G that's under 120 minutes. And this is a movie that's not rated G. Are you seeing the diversity, what this can do for you? Okay. We got a customer loyalty program. We want the first name, the last name, and the sum of what was the total that was spent. And then here I've got a case statement. When that sum is greater than 175, they're a platinum member. If it's greater than 125, they're a gold member. If it's greater than 75, they're a silver member. Everyone else is bronze, and calling that member tier. I'm doing my join statements. I'm ordering it by customer spent. I'm grouping it by customer ID because remember, customer ID is not in here and these two are, but these two can be grouped together with customer ID. And when this runs, this is what we get. Okay. Last one. This one gets fancy because we put symbols in the response because you can do that. So here, get me my title, get my account. Then I'm gonna do a case statement. When count of the inventory ID is equals 0, then reorder immediately. If it's between 1 and 2, low stock, 3 and 5, healthy, else it's overstocked. So anything over 5 is overstocked. Okay. So the point is the whole thing is with case statements, there is so much that you can do with case statements. You can really take that data and manipulate it to show whatever you want to say without ever showing them the real data. You know, yeah, if you know, you could do like if inventory equals zero, do sold out. So if you're on a website, if you have a website and you sell stuff on the website and you want to show the person that is sold out, instead of putting like quantity zero, put sold out, you know. Um there's any number of things you can do. So that's really the gist of all I had for tonight. So we're good with calling it a night. I'll go ahead and post this out. You can get some sleep. Hopefully your daughter's asleep. It's a daughter, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's a daughter, and not yet. She usually goes to bed around 8. So
Oh, that's only it's seventh. It's almost 8 by you, right?
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So in 6 minutes, she'll be going down. So
Oh yeah.
you can go down right after her.
Right. That's the plan.
All right, sir. Well, then you know what? It's just you and me tonight. So we're good to go. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, keep up the good work, man.
Will do.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye bye.